Hey guys, thanks for coming back and visiting my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I drew this ladybug just using colored pencils and markers. So for my supplies, I'm using this Strathmore toned sketch paper in tan, as well as two Blick Illustrator markers, one in N10, which is black, and one in R11, which is red rose. I'm also using Prismacolor Premier Color pencils in various colors. And for the highlights at the end, I'm using this white Jelly Roll gel pen. So I start by laying in the initial outline with a red colored pencil, and I will link the reference photo in the description below, as well as the materials that I used. So I'm fairly new to colored pencils, and this is actually my third attempt at drawing this ladybug. I did initially attempt to draw it with only colored pencils, and I found that using markers actually saves a lot of time because I can lay in the first layer of color and later go in with colored pencils to add the details. If I did the drawing with only colored pencils, which is completely doable, it would be a lot more time consuming, as I would be laying in these layers of color in an attempt to cover up the color of the page. So I first start by using those two markers that I showed you initially in order to lay down my initial color layer. If you notice, my page is stained from the previous failed attempts of trying to draw this ladybug. The markers from my failed blotched ladybug drawings seem to bleed through to this page. So that's what the red stains are for. But as you'll see in the end, I use them to my advantage. After laying in my initial layer of color, I go through with the white Prismacolor colored pencils and start laying in my lights. I also noticed that some of the lights were not actually white. They were yellows, pale blues, pale purples, and such. So I used some colored pencils in those tones to lay in the reflected light and white spots on the ladybug. Something that I'm still trying to get used to with colored pencils versus painting. When you paint with oils and acrylics, you generally start by laying in your darks first and then your midtones, followed by your lights and highlights. With colored pencils, it's completely the opposite. I learned that I have to lay in my lights first, otherwise I will lose my opportunity, as it's not so easy to layer light colors over dark colors when you're using colored pencils. So retraining my brain to operate this way has been quite challenging, but I am enjoying the challenge. After laying in my initial lights, I go through with a black colored pencil and start laying in some of the shadows. I also lay in some of the deeper red colors with a deeper red colored pencil. I think it's called something like burnt grape. I can't remember exactly. In the future, if I make more colored pencil videos, I will attempt to list the colors that I use. When laying in midtones with a red object, whether it be a ladybug or an apple or anything like that, our natural tendency to lighten up a red is to add white to it, which of course will give you a pink color, which would not work in this case. So to make a lighter red in the case of the ladybug and other things that are red, it is helpful to add orange or yellow, which is something that I do in this drawing. And that gives the illusion of a lighter area on the red object. So next time you're painting an apple or an onion or something that is red, try adding orange or yellow to your existing red color and see if that helps to produce a lighter toned area. Here I'm just restating some of the reflected light that I initially did with my white pencil, and adding that orange that we talked about earlier in order to brighten up some of the areas on the body of the ladybug. In order to give the black areas, such as the head, some dimension, it's helpful to restate some of the dark areas with my black colored pencil and color in the midtones with some grays of various shades. Then I just go in with the black marker and fill in some more parts of the anatomy that I had failed to lay down initially, because let's be honest, I wasn't sure this was going to work. It was highly experimental, so I saved the mouth and the legs for last. After laying in the legs, I go in with some lighter colored pencils, I think some grays and white, in order to lay in the reflected light, midtones, highlights, and finally add in a shadow under the ladybug to give it some dimension with a black colored pencil. What I didn't notice was that my camera had shut off, so I wasn't able to film drawing in the antennas or the little highlights and sparkles and dots I had put in with the markers. But this is what it looks like at the end. I hope you guys like it. Please let me know if there's anything else you want to see me draw or talk about in future videos. Thanks again for coming by, guys.